Hello. Oh, excuse me, a bit croaky this morning. So, this is the third and last of my life coaching sessions. Next week, fingers crossed, I'm going to get back to doing a little bit of Tai Chi, including demonstrating it seated for people who can't stand up. Anyway, this week I want to talk about the importance of words. Now, a reminder that one of the really important things with life coaching is that it's for anybody who knows they need to make a change, whether it's a huge big change like, I need to have a totally new career, or a small change like I really need to develop a good health and well-being routine that works for me. But the really important thing, if you're going to make a change, is you've got to know what you want. It's not enough to say, I don't like what I've got. You've got to know what you're aiming for, or you're not going to get anywhere. And what you want is inevitably defined in words. Because maybe you will say, oh, I want more happiness in my life. And I'll say, okay, what's happiness? Because happiness is a very nebulous term. It can mean an awful lot of different things to an awful lot of people. So for me, happiness is sitting in my comfy armchair, watching a favourite TV programme with my husband, maybe with a cat on my lap. For somebody else, happiness would be a long walk in the woods. So when people say they want happiness, that's a very, very bad way to define things, because what you're actually saying is, I want to be happy. And that then means that you've got to think, well, okay, what does happiness feel like? What are the things that give me those feelings of happiness? And you need to start asking yourself questions. And a really good rule is the rule of 3. Asking yourself why 3 times. So say you've worked out that your goal is to lose weight. Why do you want to lose weight? So you can be healthier. Well, why do you want to be healthier? Because I want to do more of the things I enjoy. So your goal actually isn't to lose weight. Your goal is to do more of the things that you enjoy. And that's why the words you use are so important, because you really, really need to use your words carefully to narrow down your goals so you're going in the right direction. Why is this? Because if you don't really narrow it down and you don't really ask yourself the hard questions about what you want and why you want it, you're not going to learn about yourself. And the bottom line is, you need to change, or nothing is going to change in the future. Now, before you all start saying, hang on a minute, what do you mean I've got to change? I'm okay the way I am. Well, are you really? If you were okay the way you are, you wouldn't want to change anything. And if your life has got into a tricky state, you need to remember that your life is the sum total of every decision that you have made so far. Just think about that. Let's say you're stuck in a job that you don't like. Well, why did you take that job? What did that job give you? Say you're in an unhappy relationship. Well, what's stopping you from ending the relationship? Say you are really fed up of being a plus size and you want to be able to wear nicer clothes that are smaller, and you want to look better. How come you ended up as plus size in the first place? Now, this is a sometimes hard truth for people who think that life coaching can help them to realise, because the bottom line is you've got to do all the hard work. Life coaching does not give you a magic wand. Life coaching can help you lay out a path to your ultimate goal, but you have got to get rid of the attitude that says, I'll be happy when. Because we have a choice to be happy or to not be happy now. To quote Paul McKenna, it's a lot easier to be happy if life doesn't suck. It's a lot easier to be happy if you've got enough money to pay the bills, if you've got a decent house and a decent relationship. And it is quite possible that you have ended up not with a decent house, not with a good relationship, for reasons that were actually not under your control. It is quite possible sometimes that you get dealt a really shitty hand, and there really isn't an awful lot you can do to change some of your external circumstances. But in that case, if you can't change it, what's the point in stressing about it? You just need to accept it. The bottom line is, life is never going to be perfect. And if you're hoping that life coaching will give you a perfect life, then forget everything I've said, because it won't. Life coaching will ask you some hard questions, maybe make you look deep inside yourself. You might even learn some somewhat uncomfortable truths about yourself. But only then can you start making the necessary changes, because only then will your priorities become clear. And if you go back to the Wheel of Life exercise, that helps you sort out the priorities of what you need to act on first. I often wish I had a magic wand, because I've had some sessions, some therapy sessions and a couple of life coaching sessions with people where I know they want a magic wand. They want a magic wand that will just take all their problems away and give them what they think of as their perfect life. Ain't gonna happen. Life just isn't like that. But it is so wrong to assume that if you get a new qualification and get a different job, that you will be any happier than you are now. Could be you'll have more money and greater security, and that could be something that is important, that will help you feel happier. But there ain't no such thing as the perfect life. And if you're chasing that, forget it. I think one of the hardest things that people coming into life coaching can have to face is the fact that relationships, which come up quite often, both in my therapy work, my readings and life coaching, relationships need work. I sometimes wish I could banish every fairy tale that says, and they got married and lived happily ever after, because life isn't like that. Relationships need work. And the bottom line is that if you want good relationships, the most important relationship you ever have is the one with yourself. Because if you don't love you, then no one else, you won't believe anybody else could love you. And until you love you, you can't love anybody else. Which people will hear, they may not understand, they may want to make objections and say, but. But that's the bottom line. All relationships need work, and that includes the relationship you have with yourself, the way you see yourself. And if you have this dream of, say, your goal is you want to start your own business, you want to be an entrepreneur, all the life coaching in the world is not going to give you that unless you believe, not just want up here, but believe down here that that is what you really can do. And very often with life coaching, you need to start off with the person's self-image. And so I'm going to ask you now, without stopping to think, I want you to think of 3 words that you would need to describe yourself. Don't think, just go with instinct. Go with what first comes to mind. Okay. I don't need to know what they are, but you may be quite surprised. But if they were all positive, well done. If they were all negative, welcome to the human race, because that's what most people do. They have a poor opinion of themselves. Now I'd like to ask you to think about what your best friend, what 3 words they would use to describe you. And if you're totally normal, they're going to be completely different to the words that you chose for yourself. And that's because you don't have a good relationship with yourself, and you don't see yourself as being worthy of love, and you don't see yourself as being deserving of a better life than the one you've got. Because you will only allow people to treat you as badly as you feel you deserve. And that's at the root of why so many abused wives, or indeed abused husbands, because it goes both ways, stay in abusive relationships, because at heart they don't feel they deserve any better. Now, before you start thinking I'm crazy, I'd like you to just, there's a little analogy, a little tale that I was told. If you were told that you could have free food from a restaurant every day if you allowed the owner to beat you up for 10 minutes every day, whether you said yes or no would very much depend on your circumstances. If you've got enough food, you're going, and you've got a reasonable life, you're going to say no. But if that seems like your best way of getting the food that you want, chances are you're going to say yes. And that's quite horrific for most people to contemplate. Because what you will accept in your life very much depends on how much freedom of choice you feel you have. And at the end of the day, we only have one freedom, and that's how to think and what we think about and the words that we think, the words that we put into those thoughts. And that's why words are so important, because if you don't feel lovable, and if you feel that you really, really need the security that comes from having enough money, staying in a boring job that you really hate, or from staying in a relationship that's not perfect, then actually maybe you don't want to be happy. Maybe security is the main thing that you want. Again, this is an example that I picked up from a book that I read many years ago. There was a man who said his goal was he wanted to be rich. Now, again, rich. What's rich? If you're unemployed and on the dole, then £100 can seem like massive wealth. If you are, wealthier, then maybe it's £1,000 that seems like major wealth to you, and you can afford to lose the odd £100 here or there. And when he asked the why 3 times, he actually realised what he wanted was security and respect, and he equated both of those with money. But actually, respect does not need you to be wealthy. Respect needs you to respect yourself, and you then naturally project that onto other people. And when they can see you respect yourself, they are more likely to respect you. So when you're setting your goals for what you want to change, the words that you use are massively important. And really, I've only touched the surface here. Now, if I've said anything that makes you think, oh, I'd like to go into this deeper, I am perfectly happy to do so one-to-one. It can be via video, it can be at a time that suits you, and I'm perfectly happy to offer 1 or 2 30-minute sessions to help you get yourself sorted out for my normal price of a donation of whatever you can afford, minimum donation of £1. So you could have an hour's life coaching for £2, or at least an hour's getting you going, with getting yourself sorted out for £2. If you decided you wanted a more formal life coaching relationship, then that would need to be need more financial investment from you. But why would you not think that you're worth investing in? And why would you not want to put the time in to invest in yourself? And the only reason is because I don't feel it will work, or I don't feel I can do it, or I don't feel I'm worth it. And none of those are true. It could be that you can't change your life in the way you want it to, that, a bit of life coaching shows you that what you were aiming for wasn't actually what you wanted. But everybody can benefit from life coaching. And investing in yourself, investing time in your health and well-being, investing time in your personal and spiritual development is the best thing that you can do. It really is. And I'm perfectly happy to point people in the right direction for that. So if you would like more formal life coaching, do contact me. I will put my email address in the notes that go alongside this video. Email me and we can sort something out that fits your time and your pocket. But if you really want to make major changes, if you are not prepared to make the investments, neither time or money, then experience has shown me that it's just going to be a waste of both our times. And I'm only going to work with people that I think are really, really invested in doing something. As for the rest of my services, as ever, I'm very happy to do mindfulness sessions or do a little bit of teaching about Tai Chi, or do tarot or oracle card or I Ching readings via video. Half-hour session via video at a time that suits you for a donation of whatever you can afford. Again, this comes back to, well, if you're not prepared to make the investment in yourself, really, why should anyone else bother? But that is there. I accept people often have limited financial resources, but if you're prepared to put the time in, then that's okay. I'm in the fortunate position that, I can accept small donations, because that's what I'm all about. I want to make these sorts of techniques accessible to people who physically can't get to me, or who don't have the financial resources to put in to a formal life coaching session, or a formal life coaching contract, which can cost hundreds of pounds. But then for those hundreds of pounds, you get a whole day or half day of my time and regular follow-ups afterwards. So, if that's sort of investment that you want, email me. In the meantime, remember that you matter, and I will be back next week when, fingers crossed, I hope to be doing some Tai Chi. Namaste.